what I wanted to say. Righteousness is a lack of love, and what I note is also opening your heart is very important.
Absolutely. Righteousness is the sword of the evil. Because the evil, the darkness, operates through righteousness. You know, when you know the truth, you know it to yourself and that's it. You don't care whether other people accept it or not. But when you want to impose, that's righteousness. It means you cannot just enjoy your own truth, but you come out from the traumatic response. You are addressing the reality as if your truth has to become a part of theirs. Yes, people may share the truth, but don't need to impose it. It doesn't really matter who believes in what. You don't need to believe or disbelieve in anything. The only purpose is to refocus, to focus within and try to understand your own trauma and corruption first before you contribute to the collective trauma with your righteousness. And what comes to love and opening the heart, everyone is parroting. Open your heart, open to the love.
But they don't know what it means.
No one at this day and age understands on a perceptional level fully, completely love. Because if they were, they would be considered enlightened beings. Enlightened doesn't mean that they, baffle there, or that they appear in this way or that way, or they try to demonstrate how saintly, how peaceful, how blissful they are. It's not their natural being. It's their hypocrisy. There is no truth in there.
Yes.
And that's why love cannot be expressed in words. It can be perceived like yoga, because it's just that natural being.
And it is very humble.
Yes, it's humility, but love then eventually, if you are love, it's impossible that other people don't love you. It's impossible that other people don't love you. But true love may also create repellent feeling. So it's like people hate truth. People hate also love. True love scares a lot of people. If people nurture the traumas and live in the victimized state, they repel love. They run away from love because that frequency scares them. That frequency pushes them to address their darkness. And I'm not speaking about the emotional love, because true love can be expressed emotionally as well. But it is that wholesomeness and contentment of one's own being, which enhances the interaction with other beings, which makes these interactions beautiful, fulfilling for the collective, which brings inspiration to the collective, which brings evolution to the collective. And this type of love is unknown to the majority of people in this day and age. So when you say open your heart, you open yourself to the natural being. It means you become vulnerable within yourself, so that you can see your trauma in that sense, that you can say, yes, I surrender to my natural being. I choose to be vulnerable because, yes, I do have that ego. I do need that validation. I am just too full of all kinds of things in my head, that behind which I hide my fragile, sensitive self. And yet that fragile and sensitive self is the most potent. It's the most brilliant. It's the most beautiful. But I'm so scared because it's not that familiar. It's not a known being for me, because I was shunned. I was closed off. I ran away from the natural being in my childhood, and I hid behind the mask.
Actually,
to appear
you
strong.
did not run. You were chased.
To appear strong, to appear less vulnerable. And yet that vulnerability was the actual strength, the actual creative potential that could bring me success, that could make me feel like I am complete in my, it's not the sense that makes you feel, but it is just a natural feeling that I'm already complete. Yet the external reality pushed me, bullied me into this sense of incompleteness. And so I chose to use masks, to avoid, to be anxious, to hide behind addictions, to hide behind some sort of achievements, external achievements, where internally I am still that little girl or boy, vulnerable, and yet feeling that that vulnerability is a weakness. Instead, that vulnerability could be the path of my healing and transformation. And so, if people do not recognize the trauma for the path of healing and transformation, as I wrote in the book, what binds us liberates us. If we do not see that as a path of healing and transformation, we can never come to the possibility of true evolution, true awakening, true knowledge, spirituality, because we simply cannot restore our natural being, because all this knowledge, love, evolution, they are a part of natural being. Natural spirituality is a part of that. As long as we sit in our trauma, protecting this trauma, trying to appear to the whole world as if we are some sort of strong, peaceful, blissful, meditative, spiritually evolved being, we are in delusion. It's delusion, it's mental sickness, it's narcissism, which people have to really look at differently. And if they can admit it to themselves, which is extremely difficult, this will become their path of evolution. But the majority cannot, because it's so painful and it equals death. That's why some scriptures make a parallel with this sort of the death of the ego. It's the death of that narcissism, of that black hole. It's a dissolution, because the light takes over. When the light takes over, one just surrenders, becomes humble. One cries out their pain openly, without shame, without guilt, without trying to appear as something. Because why would you appear as anything before the illusion, the projected world? You want to be a king in the projected world. Well, the reality is that you're a fool or a clown. You want to be a magician, you're a fool and a clown, because all you do is shuffling the bits and pieces of this projected illusion, the puzzle. There's nothing to solve in there. The only thing we can solve is we can focus within, and we can surrender to sincerity, surrender to humility, to that vulnerability, and accept that my strength lies in that vulnerability, because that vulnerability is beautiful. I am that inner being with all my flaws, with whatever, because again, who defines that they are flaws? The society, the external world deludes us into believing that these natural ways of expressing self are, vulnerability and weakness. And I'm not speaking about the expression of corrupt self, tattooing yourself or demonstrating against something to the world, or going into perverted spirituality or perverted forms of sexuality, or demonstrating something through the way you dress up. No, I don't mean that kind of expression. That is the expression of the trauma, the expression of the narcissism, the expression of the corrupt individual and collective self, the self that has dispersed itself and that needs mental, emotional, and physical balance and healing. I am speaking about that natural, just simply speaking out your heart, simply speaking out your truth, simply sharing without afterthoughts what other people may think if I express myself, if I just dance, if I just speak out, if I just laugh naturally, if I stop controlling each and every thought, each and every action of mine. I am just me. And that me does not need tags, does not need tattoos, does not need symbols, does not need special dressing. It is just there. So that is very rare, and that is authentic. And this is the sign of gradual awakening, gradual healing, and coming back to the natural self. Because we are not to gain anything in spirituality, we are to restore the natural being, which means to come back to the root of our natural conscious being, consciousness in its just natural being, not that corrupt human consciousness, but the higher consciousness in its raw form, in its just natural existence.
Yeah, we have put a lot of stuff onto the consciousness, a lot of rubbish. We have plastered the consciousness with rubbish.
Yes, besides the fact that we dispersed and fragmented, we also accumulated a lot of kind of limited information, false information. False information, it doesn't mean that it cannot be true to a limited degree, but it's limiting. It's limiting the individual, limiting the collective. For example, this is bad, this is good. So the actual key of corruption is judgment. Because through the down cycle, we judged various separate aspects of reality, and we stamped them, we boxed them, we arranged them in a certain
He's
way.
wrong, I'm right.
In a certain way. That's why judgment becomes this cornerstone, this obstacle for our evolution. As long as, yes, you may admit things, you may call things their names, you may express them and say, look, this is a cup and this is a table, or this is a computer. That's a fact. That's not a judgment. Judgment means that we observed something outside of ourselves and put it into assumed either superior, inferior position towards it, towards this knowledge or that knowledge, or we chose to box that knowledge and misuse it, or use it in a sense that we would control other people, or that we would control something or someone. So you see, judgment and righteousness, both, that it's a sign of superiority, that one group of beings, even one part of the collective being, assumes superior position or inferior. This is the trauma. This is the corruption. So you can again disperse and look at it in our human way. Okay, it started from superior, inferior position, then it started expressing itself as judgment and righteousness, then it started dispersing into lower emotions, and then fear was employed, envy was employed. So, but again, is it just to see how it went down? But in reality, it's just darkness, it's just evil in a nutshell. It's just a certain type of frequency, which could be again seen in a dispersed way or in a collective way. But the reality is one and the same. If you are ignorant, you're still willing or wishing to be something special, something separate from the rest. You cannot embrace the collective because you need to separate yourself into an individual. And that's why you look for the ways to become special, for the ways to be acknowledged as special, for the ways to, be something different. That's the force that keeps on fragmenting and dispersing the collective consciousness even more so. But the spirituality and evolution means collecting oneself back, restoring that wholesomeness on an individual and then collective and universal, which means dissolving that sense of I am special, or I need to be anything in front of this reality, before this reality, or before this illusion. It's not even reality. It seems as if a reality, but it's an illusion. And it's one of the illusions. And then we create our own illusions through the, you know, collage of our thoughts and emotions. We live in an imaginary world. And some people go even further, where they lose their sense of self completely, their sanity, that they cannot even take care of their body. It means that all those fragments possess their physical being, to the point that the sense of self is so dispersed that the body starts going in a deranged, delusional way, and so it just becomes like a subject to, we call it mental disease, or it needs to be locked up because it cannot control itself, because various pieces and fragments of the projected reality control it. Again, you can look at it from a spiritual point of view, or religious point of view, or psychological. Shadows control it, or, you know, spirits, or some other type of dark, of dispersed forms of energy control it. So we look at it as a mental illness, but in reality, it's a possession. It's such a dispersion of the individuality that this body cannot even be driven by that, you know, by one sort of wholesome being. So at the moment, it is not just the question of, oh, we need to restore ourselves from duality. We are not dealing with duality. We deal with multiplicity and severe fragmentation and dispersion of our collective, and especially individual beings. That's why mental sickness is the sickness number one. Everyone is possessed by their shadows, yet no one knows how to address them. We don't have specialists, we don't have standards to compare with. We don't know what the standard of evolution, or the standard of enlightenment, or the standard of mental health is. We don't know. And so we project our corrupt standard, and these standards are constantly going down. And then we're healing. Sick people are healing sick people. So that's why we are where we are. Until we raise awareness, but even raising awareness and expanding with awareness does not guarantee that we are going to heal, because it has taken so many years to get corrupt, and now it will take some time. And it's not for everyone, because certain beings don't even have such thoughts that they need to do anything, because they love their delusional, deranged states. They are fine with it, and so they are a part of this darkness. Now, when this polarization completes itself, there will be a change. There will be a cyclical shift. So we're living in very interesting times, where what we see could delude us, what we hear deludes us anyways. And we're experiencing this deep dive into the matter and dispersion, where the majority of people lose their light's essence, their energy essence to that, even in the name of spirituality, actually, very often in the name of spirituality, religion, in the name of certain ideas for salvation. Everyone wants to be something. When you are someone on a spiritual level, you never have such thoughts. You are. Period.